Using warm and cool colours in the sky creates realistic light, depth and atmosphere. Warm colours suggest sunlight and bring areas forward, while the cooler blues create distance, calmness and contrast, and that all makes the sky feel luminous and alive. I'm using Manganese Blue for my cool blue and Cobalt Blue for my warm blue, even though it's considered to be a cool blue, but compared to manganese, it is much warmer. And then for a darker blue, I'm using Indigo. For the opposite side of the colour wheel, I'm using Quinacridone Sienna and Quinacridone Rose. Quinacridone Sienna sits on the border of yellow and red, and Rose is a much cooler option. I've created my tonal value sketch on grey paper because everything is basically so medium and dark, and it was easy to just add the lights to it and know that the darks were on the outsides looking in. After activating the graphite, you could really see the lights, darks and mediums. For a sky that relies more on feeling than on precision, I love to use the loaded drops method. This is where I place random drops of paint along a path, and then I can have fun with it. Now with a clean, soft brush, wet brush, I am pulling these droplets into the sky, just very randomly, and also some of these drops are going to be spread into the cloud, giving me a nice variety of soft and hard edges both in and out of the cloud. Picking up some cobalt blue and dragging it into the sky from the corner. When you're painting skies, if you paint diagonal lines or keep the movement diagonal, it all looks a whole lot better. I'm now applying some thicker cobalt blue, and this is one of the advantages also of having a graduated palette where one side is higher than the other. You can have thicker paint at the top end and watery paint at the bottom. And then I'm also laying in some indigo and having the lines very wispy, which also contributes to the movement. These wispy lines will eventually settle into the paper on their own, and it's always fun just to see how it all dries up. So looking at my tonal sketch, I've established this middle area of the blue sky and the top right-hand corner with the darks. It's still all very wet and I have a few very sharp little shapes in there, but because it's so wet, I can come in with a little bit of water, break up some of those shapes and let them run into the sky because it's still so wet. At this stage, you can do that because it hasn't started drying yet. I can also lift a few extra spots if I want to with my brush, and also add in a little more creamy paint. I can't see any distinct pools of paint or water, so it's safe enough to move on to the larger cloud. And I am mixing a very, very thin tea-like consistency of the Quinacridone Sienna and testing it on a scrap piece of paper. It still seems a little strong for what I want, so I'm adding a little more water. And that's a bit better now. This light, warm wash of Quinacridone Sienna is indeed very light, but it's enough for now for what I want to do. I am painting the area, but leaving the top bits white. And then coming in with a little bit of Quinacridone Rose mixed into the sienna so that it's not too much of a big difference straight up. And then I'll wash my brush and dry it. And some of these very, very geometrical shapes can be softened. I'm going to leave some of them, but some can be made a bit softer. While this is still beautifully wet, I'm going to continue some of this dark coming down here, coming around. I love seeing all the different strokes that you can get out of a brush and achieve beautiful textures by pushing the brush away from yourself. Or you may consider double loading it, where you pick up some colour and load a darker colour to one corner. Then you can use one corner of the brush where the paint is lighter for some wispy bits and use the darker bit all at the same time. This gives you some instant drama and results just when you need it most, instead of having to change brushes. And this is going to be softened. It's not going to be that white down in this shadowed area, but lighter, which is fine, like that. Sometimes I hear that tissues are out of vogue, but in fact I think it's one of the most valuable tools you can possibly have at your fingertips at all times. You can easily blot away anything, or even some waterlines that are starting to appear can easily be blotted out. All right, and then up in this top corner, just to give our surface a once over, might take a little bit more of the Quinacridone Sienna and a little bit of the Quinacridone Rose. And now we can allow this to dry. My sky is dry now. I'm going to wet this part of the cloud. You can wet it all. Don't brush it too much. Gently glide your brush over it. And now the parts that you didn't want wet, you can just mop up with a tissue. So I want this to be a little bit drier, and this here. And now just by doing that, the water is going to avoid these areas, and that'll be great. So now with my flat brush, I'm going to give these clouds here a little bit of shadow, a bit of the Quinacridone Sienna and a bit of Rose, and then to that a little bit of Indigo. And with that, I'm just going to make a few bottoms of clouds and a little bit of side shadowing like this, and some coming in right from the side. And then a few little, some edges can be softened and some can be left harder. And now all I want to do is come in with a little bit of indigo and also come around this cloud here and this one here. See how I've cut that cloud through the middle there, because it just makes it look a little bit more alive when there are bits in and out of it. So a little bit of this can be blended and a little bit can be left. Now we can just examine all this and see what we think. And I quite like it. I might, with the cobalt blue and the crimson, make a little bit of a purpley shadow that is there. A slightly different color, which I think looks good. And there. And then this color that I've just put on can have a little bit more depth to it. So of course the color has to be a little bit richer, the pigment. But when you're working with a very limited palette, it's easy just to pick up those colors and you don't have to worry about anything, as in which colors were you using, because the options are so very limited. giving these clouds some bottoms. Can just be broken up with a bit of water. And often, if you just allow yourself to go a little bit abstract, things will actually look more alive. So a little bit darker still in there. Maybe a bit over here while the paper's still nice and wet. We have warms and cools, both in the warmer range we have warms and cools, and in the cooler blues. And I can just add a little bit of this manganese blue in a few spots just to really highlight the blue for some extra impact. There, and I think that's it. So now it's your turn. Give it a go or join us at school where we can all paint together. 7 days free trial and no questions asked. Thanks for watching and see you next time.